You are now watching The Meech.
As I'm sure most of you are aware, Nintendo hosted the Splatoon 3 global playtest on Saturday. Going into Splatoon 3, I did have some concerns with the game, most notably just how similar it looked to Splatoon 2, and after looking at the feedback for the playtest, some are saying the game felt different from Splatoon 2, while others can't tell the difference. I wanted to experience the game before making a video about it, considering that sometimes even if a game looks visually similar, the mechanics can make the game feel more refined and essentially offer a new experience. So the question is, how was Splatoon 3, and is it different enough from 2 to warrant being a new game? Starting up the game, you're greeted to the intro. I played the game at night, so this was my only opportunity to look at the game during the day, and everything looks great. There's a good attention to detail, and the colors are more vivid than I expected. Everything looks more refined from Splatoon 2, though it's a bit more subtle. After the tutorial, you're greeted to the new pop trio, Deep Cut. I will admit, Fry's design was off-putting because of the forehead thing, but seeing her in motion, she looked better than I expected. Shiver and Big Man, on the other hand, have stellar designs. I also think it's very cool that the music has a very unique Far East and Bollywood sound to it. Really cool stuff there. Once they finished explaining what the Splatfest was about, it was off to the Splatsville Plaza. First exploring it, I did feel a bit overwhelmed. You probably know I'm not a fan of oversimplified logos and minimalistic design, but there is such a thing as over-design. Reminds me a bit of the Problem Solvers, though to be fair, I'm one of the few people on the planet who actually like that show. But it wasn't because of the art style, but after the initial first impression, I've grown to appreciate it. It's quite expansive, and one thing that I noticed is that it changes the atmosphere while you explore. Some sections have you exploring a city, while others feel more like a bazaar. It's actually pretty cool, and I'm excited to see the grand scope of it in the full game. But as with any game, the gameplay is the most important factor. The core gameplay itself is the same as Splatoon has always been. Your main goal is to ink the most turf. I used a variety of weapons during the Splatfest, most notably ones I've been accustomed to. My favorites being the Splat Rollers and the Splatter Shots, but the new weapons I did try being the Tri-Stringer and Splatana weren't exactly my cup of tea. Since they are new weapons, learning techniques and learning how to use them would probably allow me to appreciate them more. But considering the Splatfest was only for a limited time, I played it safe and went with what I know. There are new moves as well, some of them being the Squid Surge and the Squid Roll, and the overall mechanics are more refined, but as a more casual Splatoon fan who hasn't played Splatoon 2 in quite some time, the game itself felt very much the same to me. I then asked a friend who's had way more hours in Splatoon 2 how he felt about the game, and he said there were some nice new features, but it overall feels very similar to 2. He didn't see how other Splatoon veterans said it felt completely different, but where it immediately felt different for me is with the Tricolor Splatfest. Before getting into it though, rock, paper, scissors as a Splatfest? That's pretty weird, isn't it? Who is passionate about rock, paper, scissors? Like, I understand Splatfests such as Cats vs. Dogs, SpongeBob vs. Patrick, but who's gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna fight for Team Scissors? Probably Mr. Garrison, but I hope the next Splatfests are far more relatable. Playing the Tricolor Splatfest, it got far more chaotic than I ever would have expected, and considering I'm very rusty at Splatoon, I might need to just get good, but from what I've played, it did seem a bit too chaotic. But overall, I enjoyed my experience with what I played of Splatoon 3. The presentation of the game is also excellent. I touched on it a bit before, but the environments have a great attention to detail, and the characters for the most part look great. I played it at night, so unfortunately, I didn't see any of the day stages in action, but there's no doubt in my mind that the presentation is going to be great. But considering this is a multiplayer Nintendo Switch game, there's always going to be the concern of content. This is another one of those games where they give you free updates, which usually means we didn't finish the game, we're gonna disguise finishing the game as free DLC, you know the drill. But with Splatoon 3, it's already proven that it's gonna have enough content day one. The thing is, there's not a problem with free updates. Who wouldn't want to have new content added to a game that they love playing? In Splatoon 3's case, this is definitely what free DLC actually is, whereas something like Nintendo Switch Sports and Mario Strikers Battle League finishing the game is disguised as free DLC, but considering the comments on Nintendo's pathetic attempt to make adding leg strap functionality to Switch Sports seem exciting, people are seeing past the bullcrap. So to answer that question, Splatoon 3 won't launch finished, it'll just launch complete. So then we get into the main question of, is Splatoon 3 different enough from Splatoon 2? And the answer to that question really just depends on how much of a Splatoon fan you are. For a more casual fan such as myself, you probably won't find many noticeable differences. Think of it like upgrading from a previous gen phone to one a year later. Probably some nice new features, but nothing major. But for more invested fans, you'll probably have a much more fresh experience. But does it even need to be different? We've learned with a series like Paper Mario that different absolutely by no means means better. And for me personally, the fact that Splatoon 3 is iterative didn't really bother me. It was that issues I had with previous Splatoon games are seemingly still present. Why can't we skip the deep cut intro? Why is the stage rotation still 2 hours? And why are there no new significant modes? The story is new, but the mode itself isn't something new. It just seems like a lot of stuff that could be added to Splatoon 2. However, don't be mistaken, because I think the game will still be very good. This isn't a case like Mario Strikers Battle League, where the game literally launched with 10 characters and essentially one stadium for $60. Just even thinking about it. No, this is going to be at the very least a very fun game, and I had a blast with what I've played. And if you've never played Splatoon before, this will likely be the one to get. I don't think it needed to reinvent the wheel, but new modes such as a Battle Royale mode would have been cool to see. I will be reviewing the full game when it releases, and I'll be streaming it as well with you guys, so be on the lookout for that. But overall, I do feel like Splatoon 3 is very similar to past Splatoon games, but that really isn't a bad thing. We'll just have to see if the game does incorporate some new modes down the line, but for now, we're getting a very fun game with an ample amount of content, and I'm looking forward to it. So there you have it. Here are my first impressions on Splatoon 3. I did want to bring up on a final note that I think this is it for Nintendo's 2022. I think Splatoon 3 is going to be their last major game of the year. We got Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope coming in October, but that is developed by Ubisoft and not Nintendo directly. And Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is a Pokemon company, but even if it wasn't, it's like the third mainline Pokemon game within the span of the year, so for me at least, I'm just so fatigued with that series. But the thing is, we might get a Nintendo Direct soon, and this isn't based on rumors or anything. In Kit and Krista's podcast, Kit was talking about how there would probably be a Splatoon Direct in August, followed by a September Direct, and considering we don't really know anything about Nintendo's 2023 schedule, I think it's fair to expect that, and I will definitely be making videos about it when it happens. I just hope that there isn't Demich's Maximum Fury yet again. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and keep calm and dada on.